Hello, welcome to the brand new, the first edition, the first ever episode of the Battle Line podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Captain Matt Satterlee. With me is my co-host and co-host in life, my wife, Captain Jamie Satterlee. Say hello, Jamie.
Hey.
Also with us here is our co-host and producer, Elizabeth. How are you, Elizabeth?
I am so great, and I'm totally stoked to be here.
All right. So this podcast comes as an offshoot of our ministry here at the Salvation Army's national headquarters. With Matt's work as the National Youth Secretary and his youth ministry around the nation, and with Peer Magazine, where I'm the editor, which is the Salvation Army's publication for Gen Z. We see that situations that our young people and our young adults face daily are intense. They're tough situations. And so the Battle Line podcast is intended for really for everybody, but for millennials and Generation Zers to discover more about community and faith and culture and to kind of better understand the Salvation Army's role in that. The idea behind this podcast was really born from a time in our lives when we were in community with this group of people who would sit down, whether it was at the lunch table or in a library or when we were setting up for events or any number of places, and we were kind of just have conversation around different tables. And these were people of different ages and races and cultures and socioeconomic backgrounds. And we would talk about everything from important things like experience with racial discrimination, or even not so important things like who's the GOAT when it comes to the NBA, which I guess to some people that's probably pretty important. But that group was so important to us, and it kind of helped us grow, as people, but as disciples of Jesus. And it added such value to our lives. And so that's kind of our dream for this podcast. That's what we want this to be: conversations about important things and not so important things that, even those not so important things might actually turn out to be important in the lives of our listeners.
Yeah. So thank you, Captain Jamie. We named this podcast, we gave it the name The Battle Line because it's the place, it's that line, it's that battlefront, that battle line where faith and culture and community all collide. Like, I think of it as, you've seen those old movies of the Civil War or the Revolutionary War, or even in the, World War I or World War II things where the enemy basically, like, two armies line up and they just face one another. And sometimes we think that that's what faith and culture are, a place where they collide. So the idea is to talk about both of those things, faith, culture, even community. And hopefully through this podcast, it will encourage you. It'll make you laugh, make you think. But most importantly, we're praying and hoping that this podcast would lead people to Jesus.
And today's episode, we're going to kind of start off on a light note and look at kind of the highlights of pop culture in 2020 and see what biblical truths we can find in it. This is kind of an odd year for this because of the pandemic. So much, I guess, of movies and TV, and so all that has changed because of quarantines and shutdowns. But even in all of that unsettledness, there have been some really great things that have come out in 2020. And so we just want to kind of talk about these highlights of pop culture and see what biblical truths we can find. So we're going to hop right in.
All right. So, Elizabeth and Captain Jamie, do you want to guess? Because I know it's a weird year, 2020, the pandemic, but do you want to? So the top movie of the year that we're going to discuss is Bad Boys for Life was the top movie of 2020. Can you believe it? It came out.
This is so crazy to me because I can't even remember going to movies. I think the last movie I saw in theaters was Knives Out, but I don't even know if that was in 2020. It feels like forever.
Take a guess, best guess of, because you know how long 2020's felt like. It's felt more than a year, for sure. It's felt like a lifetime. Guess what date, or at least try to get the month that Bad Boys for Life came out in theaters.
I'm going to go with February.
That's pretty close. January 17th. January 17th was the movie. The top movie of the year was out 17 days into the new year, but we just didn't know, So Bad Boys for Life, I think everybody listening to this should know it, or if not, you could Google it really, really quickly. But Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, cops, great stuff. The normal normal cop drama thing that we saw. But then, this movie actually made $424 million in January. That's why it's the top movie. But then the pandemic hit. So is it fair? That's the question. Is it fair to say this is the top movie when everything else pretty much just shut down right after this?
Yeah, I don't know. Like if in a normal year, if you said what was the best movie and somebody said Bad Boys for Life, you'd be like, what? But Rotten Tomatoes, the audience rating on it was 96%. So
really,
like
that's
people
very high.
love this movie. Like they loved it. And I was thinking like, I don't think the studio expected it to be a hit because January is like the wasteland of movies where, everything comes out, everything that's good that a studio like really wants to do well comes out in December, I guess because of the holidays, people have time off. They go see the movies. So January is like where studios put movies that they think are going to tank. It's like where movies go to die a quiet death. So I think that when they released this, even the studio didn't think, because Bad Boys for Life or Bad Boys like the second one wasn't great. It didn't do well. So I think it surprised even the people who put it out, which is hilarious.
For sure. Well, let's talk about the truths, because that's what we want to do with this podcast is like what's the faith aspect? What are some of the positive messages, some of the timeless truths that we can get out of this movie? So Bad Boys for Life, I think one of the first things you see right off the bat is the relationship between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, which is a lot to talk about loyalty and friendship, which is a very, a great positive message. Everybody needs loyal friends, right? Ride or die friends. And so I think just a Bible verse that came to mind as soon as I was thinking, like, what are some of the truths about this is Proverbs 18:24 that says, a man of many companions may come to ruin. But here's the great line, the second part of this verse. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And there, we ascribe this verse to Jesus a lot because he is a friend to us, and he knows more about us than brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing that we can see like in the Bible in a couple of different places. You got David and Jonathan, who like Jonathan's dad was trying to, kill David, hated him. But still Jonathan was a loyal friend to him. You have like Ruth and Naomi, who were mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, but still friends and, left a whole culture to go and be with her mother-in-law. So we see this kind of dynamic played out a lot in the Bible. I think the important truth for us to realize is like, it's great to have a ride or die friend, but you got to make sure that your ride or die friend is like the right friend to have with you, right?
For sure. That's a great point.
Some of these friends, they might be ride or die, but that whole dying thing might come when they drag you off a cliff.
Right.
And so like, we want to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people who are going to push us forward and not like lead us down some kind of crazy road.
Captain Jamie and I have been youth ministers, and how many times have we talked to people who have said, "Oh, I just got in with some bad friends, and now my life's like this." So, and I don't. Last thing about this before we get ready to move on from this one is I don't want to ruin the movie for somebody who hasn't seen it. So I don't want to spoil alert anything. But another timeless truth that's in here is revenge. The whole message of revenge. So again, I can't get into too much detail because then it'll ruin the movie for somebody. But what do you guys think? What Captain Jamie, Elizabeth, what do you think about, let's just talk for a minute about revenge. What does revenge look like in our culture?
Oh man. I mean, I think that it's like if we're talking about culture outside of faith, it's a powerful thing. You see it, it's a pretty common movie trope, but also, you see it a lot in books, and then even just in people's lives where, you hit me, I'm going to hit back. I'm not going to let anybody treat me like a punk. That's what people say. I'm not going to let anybody, disrespect me. And so I think we see it played out a lot. It's a dangerous road for sure. It can lead you back. I'm just thinking of all the movies where, somebody goes after somebody and they end up getting taken down. I would just like to say revenge in football, which is my favorite sport. The second person is always the one that gets caught. Like the first person is never the one that goes down, right? It's always the second person who hits back, who gets the penalty. So, in those moments of heatedness, it's human nature, I think, for us to want to strike back. But if football teaches you anything, it's that the person who hits back is the person that goes down for it. So
Yeah.
Be
And,
careful.
and when talking about faith, I mean, Jesus really flips this on his head, flips this on our heads. The Lord says in Romans, do not take revenge, my friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it's written, I will avenge. And then it says this, on the contrary, if your enemy's hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. And doing this, you'll heap burning coals on his head. So to learn about a little more about revenge, probably not the way that we should deal with revenge is to see Bad Boys for Life. And
I just want to say, like, it's such a, the Bible does this to us all the time, kind of smacks us right in the face with something that's totally against our nature. And I think this is a clear example of that, where, again, our human nature is to want to fight back. It's to want to defend ourselves. It's to want to, kind of get back at the other person. But instead, the word says, turn the other cheek. Wait, you want me to offer them something good? Like, it's just so contrary to what our instinct is. But the great thing about it is, say be more like Jesus. That's what Jesus displayed. Turning the other cheek, not fighting back at the people who like spent all of their time trying to persecute him. But the great thing is that he also offers us not only a great example in that, but also help along the way, right? Like, yes, it's against our nature, but we can do it, and he's there to help us.
All right. Well, the second movie of the year's one, probably a few more people have heard of. It's a movie that's 103 years old now. Give it to 1917, the World War I drama. Elizabeth or Captain Jamie, have you seen this movie?
That's a no.
Yeah, I second that.
All right, listen. So don't make fun of me, but I am that one guy in America that still gets the DVDs from Netflix. So yeah. So that's it. Listen, when you have kids, listen, millennials, Generation Z people out there, listen to Uncle Matt. There's a character on Fraggle Rock called Uncle Matt, and I'm going to refer to him a couple of times. Listen, Uncle Matt, when you have kids, you don't get to go willy-nilly to the movie theaters anymore. So sometimes you have to get the discs from
1984.
Netflix. All right. So I did watch 1917 on a DVD sent to me. So again, great movie. I think it had Oscar buzz, but really, and that's what's funny is, what are the Oscars going to be like this year? We only have like 5 movies to choose from, and like they really are allowing streaming stuff to get in there now. But sorry, that's off the point. We don't have to talk about 1917 too much. I mean, you see the same thing. There's loyalty and friendship. It's about two guys. One is trying to go and save his brother, and so they're trying to get the message to their fellow soldiers. So it's two friends running around. So there's loyalty, there's courage, there's duty. Sort of the same thing we talked about for Bad Boys for Life. We don't need to get in that to too much. A fun fact about this movie: there is one shot in the movie that is 8.5 minutes before they cut away. A take was 8.5 minutes long, which doesn't seem like that much, but that is forever in movie time. I mean, this is my first time podcasting right now, and 8 minutes seems like an eternity.
Well, also, yeah, I can attest to the fact that, we filmed a lot of videos in our previous life as youth pastors, and one continuous shot is not a thing. I don't know. I mean, they're professionals. We weren't, but still, I can't imagine doing one long 8.5 minute shot.
Do you guys see any truths or anything like that you wanted to add into 1917 in the discussion?
I mean, if I had seen it, I probably would.
Wow. Listen, Bad Boys for Life, 484 million, but a story based on real life of 1917, an event that changed the face of the world forever. And we're like, it wasn't worth to get the DVD. So that's fine. Whatever. All right, the next one. This one blows my mind that this is the third biggest, the most, most watched, most gross sales, ticket sales of 2020. Yeah. Can you believe Sonic the Hedgehog, folks?
When I saw this on the list, I was like, is this for real? Is this real life?
So there's a guy, Chris Flanagan is a Salvationist, and he has this podcast called Critics Without Credentials. And he says a great line in this. He said, I've gone to some movies and after things have started open with the coronavirus, and I have to ask myself, is this movie worth going to in the theaters and catching the coronavirus? Is this worth being the last movie I ever saw in theaters? And I have to ask myself that about Sonic the Hedgehog. If you're one of those souls who went out there and saw Sonic the Hedgehog in March, or whenever this movie came out, and this was the last movie you ever saw in theaters, would that bother you? That you were like, wow, the movie theaters, like the apocalypse happened, theaters got shut down, and the last movie I went and saw is Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I
Kevin.
love going to the movies. There's just something about it. I don't mind, paying to go do it if it's a good movie. But there's no way I'm dropping, like, movies are expensive. There's no way I'm dropping, $30 on Sonic the Hedgehog. And then for that to be the last $30 I dropped at a movie theater, that's a rough look.
I have heard that there is, seriously, because it's 2020, there is some Oscar buzz around this movie, Sonic the Hedgehog. Just take that for a moment. I don't know, you guys wouldn't remember, Elizabeth, you're too young to remember, but they made a live action version of Super Mario Brothers once.
I do remember this.
That movie was, this is the opinions expressed are my own here and not those of the Salvation Army. That movie was terrible. It was terrible. So do you know this movie actually was supposed to come out in 2016, but they had to redraw Sonic. They computer animated him, and they did like this little glimpse of what he will look like, and people on the internet went ballistic. And so they had to change him. So they redrew him and made him a little more cartoony. And so, yeah, it was supposed to come out in 2016. It wasn't till this year.
How crazy is it that they were so invested in this movie that they not just made it the first time, but then went back and remade it again? I feel like I would just be
Captain
like,
Jamie, listen,
cut.
It's the third. It was the third best movie of the year. Third best movie of the year. They knew exactly what they were doing.
I mean, I guess like the fact that they mess it up so bad the first time worked out really well for them, because now it got released in a year where it's the third best of the year. What a flex!
So yeah, and again, we're sensing a theme for this year. But you want to guess what one of the true sin themes is for positive messages from this movie?
Oh, I cannot imagine.
Loyalty, and friendship. Of course, there it is. You're sensing the theme. Bad Boys for Life, 1917, and a relationship between Sonic, and I think that actor's name is James Marsden. Am I saying that correct?
Yeah. I can't imagine. Like, I feel like we're hitting the bottom of the barrel, and not just because it's 2020, but like, really, there are no movies to be. We're so like at the end of our creativity that this is what we're bringing to the table. I know. Let's take a video game from the 90s and revive it.
Pop quiz, Captain Jamie. What video game console did Sonic the Hedgehog come out on?
Listen, don't try me.
Don't think about it. Just
Genesis.
Go. There he goes. Good job.
Yes, don't try me. That's right. Why are you trying to? Yes, don't come for me.
All right. Last movie. There's a lot of movies that were out that didn't even come close because it's 2020. But the fourth last movie we'll talk about here was Jumanji: The Next Level. Captain Jamie, I know you're a fan of Jumanji. Do you want to jump right in there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I can remember watching it as a kid when the original came out with Robin Williams, which I mean, I was suspicious when they rebooted it. Like, how are we going to do this without Robin Williams? But I watched the first reboot, or the first, I guess, I don't even remember what that movie was called when it came back out a couple years ago. I finally watched it on an airplane, which is it was a great plane watch. I'm pretty sure I cackled out loud several times, it was an overnight flight, so disrupting the people around me. But I loved it. And I thought it was smart for them to reboot it as a video game, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But, I was really nervous going into it, thinking like, man, is this going to be terrible? Are they going to ruin something that was so great? But it was funny.
Yeah, agreed. Elizabeth, have you seen any of the Jumanjis?
I am not cool, so I have seen none of the Jumanjis.
Seriously, not even the one that was made back in the 90s with Robin Williams.
It is beyond my times.
Elizabeth, you need to watch it. I mean, like, now it's cheesy because graphics and things have come a long way, but it was amazing.
So the OG you recommend, not the new ones?
Well, you don't like the new one, but the original.
The whole experience.
You got to start. You got to start with the OG.
Yes.
All right. Pop quiz here for you. So Danny DeVito is in this one, and Kevin Hart, and so of course there's other people. But here's my question about these two actors. How tall are they? You want to take a guess how tall these guys are?
I'm going to say Kevin Hart is 5.
No Googling. Don't be Googling right now.
5'5".
Oh, so close. Elizabeth, you want to take a guess?
I'm going to lock in 5'6".
All right. Sorry, if we were playing by Price is Right rules, you'd lose for going over. Kevin Hart is actually 5'4".
Really?
Whoa.
5'4". And how about Danny DeVito? You want to take a guess?
5'2".
Elizabeth?
I'm going to go 5'1".
Can you guys? I'm not lying. Google says that Danny DeVito is 4'10".
No way. Does he have to sit in a booster seat?
I think so. You know what? You're right, Captain Jamie. I think in some states the seatbelt law is 4'11", the booster seat. So
how crazy if your dad takes you to school and he's in a booster seat?
That's terrible. That's a terrible thought.
He's funny though. What a career. That man's had a career.
Well, so there are some good themes. There's some good biblical truth and some good positive messages in Jumanji: The Next Level. I think a big one, and you see this in the OG Jumanji, is working together as a body. Certain people have strengths and weaknesses, and in the new one, they have that. That's what's great about those movies is they can see what their strengths and what their weaknesses are. Like Kevin Hart's character is. Cake is a weakness for him, but I think,
isn't it a weakness for all of us?
For sure. Spicy take. I'm not a cake fan. Cake is the lowest level of desserts, but moving on. Strengths and weaknesses, and in the body of Christ, we need one another. We need one another. There are people who are teachers and people who are good drivers and people who just want to set up chairs and take down chairs. And for the ministry to happen, for the body of Christ to be Jesus' hands and feet in the world, we have to understand that we have strengths and weaknesses, and other people in the body, other believers have strengths and weaknesses as well. And like the Bible says, the eye can't say to the ear, I don't need you. No, we're all going to be Sunday school teachers here. We don't need, somebody's got to come and set up chairs. So Jumanji, some good lessons there for sure about working together as a body of Christ, our strengths and weaknesses. Anything else, Captain Jamie or Elizabeth, that you saw from Jumanji?
No, I mean, like you said, I think it's just, it really is a great display of that. And I do love, like they, with their, as they can see their strengths and weaknesses, and as they're discovering those is a hilarious part. But I think it's also about like, in that same thing, they can see their life, like that little bar, that kind of shows how much strength and stuff that you have. And so when another member is weak, another person picks up the slack. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about surrounding yourself with the right people. Because there's going to be times in our lives when we're down or when we're close to losing that little life bar or whatever. And we need people who are around us to pick us up and to encourage us on and, to be our hype man. So there are a lot of good little lessons I think you can see in this one.
For sure. I think that's a good way, Captain Jamie, to sum up all of the movies that we talked about here of 2020 is that there's just such a theme, such a truth of being careful of who you choose as your friend and, the loyalty that comes with that. And then remembering that ultimately Jesus is our best friend, the one who sticks closer than a brother, who knows us so well.
Yeah. And I think like on the flip side of that, it also encourages us to be that or don't be that in the lives of somebody else. Like,
that's great. It's a great point.
Be the kind of friend who is going to challenge, your friends to spur them on to better things, to encourage them, to advocate for them, to hype them up. Don't be the one that's derailing your friends' lives.
Well, let's move into a top TV show that's not streaming. We divided this up into two, streaming and not streaming, because it's just too vast of a category. So the top TV show on right now, at least on 2020 already, it just came out recently, that's not on streaming is The Bachelorette. So Captain Jamie, Elizabeth, are you Bachelorette or Bachelor fans?
I am absolutely a Bachelor fan.
All right. See, I actually had to call some friends, call some family members about The Bachelorette because I don't think I've ever seen an episode from start to finish.
Captain Matt.
Hey, listen, you didn't see Jumanji.
Fair.
So I've seen some episodes. My favorite podcast always does recaps of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. And so every time they start a new season on there, I'm always like, I'm going to watch this. And I get like so excited for it. But then I watch and I just get, it's too much. It's too much for me. I do like, I try to keep up, for youth conversations and conversations with friends and stuff, but I've never made it through a whole season.
All right, Elizabeth. So I'm going to go through this. You tell me where I get off, get off wrong, when I get off track, and then you lead me back. So there is the Bachelorette that's out right now. The Bachelorette's name is Claire.
Claire, yep.
She's the oldest Bachelorette they've ever had.
That is correct. 39.
39. Look, props to you, the Bachelorette.
Just leave it, Captain Jamie.
No,
leave
listen,
it.
I'm here for it. Sometimes I think so often in TV, like, and I especially think in this franchise, they've gotten some flack for, playing, to a certain look and a certain age bracket and all this stuff. But you know what? Maybe they're trying to make a step in the right direction.
Okay, so Elizabeth, there's a one gentleman named Dale.
That's our man.
So who Claire, the point of The Bachelorette is more of a game show. Like you're trying to pick the person that you're going to marry. So, but it seems like Claire has picked her man way too early in the show.
I'm talking like night 1, she said she met her husband, and now we're on like week 2, and she is so madly in love.
Because I did watch last week just to see if I knew what I was talking about, and that's when it all like went bananas, right? Like she was out on a group date, but she was only spending time with Dale and all the other guys. So what? I didn't see the end because I told you I hadn't seen one whole episode the whole way through. Did they like boycott? Did all the other bachelors just to say, you know what, she's already chosen, this is a waste of my time, and walk out? Did that happen?
Well, last week kind of ended on a cliffhanger. Like they were at the rose ceremony and then it was just like, boom, stay tuned for next week. And this week, oh my goodness, things went down. So we had our rose ceremony and then she's kind of canceled the first part of a group date, but then only hung out with Dale on that date, which did not make the boys happy. And they had another group date, which was a roast, and all the guys roasted Dale. Ooh. So she was super offended, but then only wanted to talk to the guys about Dale. So the boys are not loving this, but Claire is loving Dale.
So she's in essence, she's broke the game, right? Like the game show is broken.
She's not willing to play their game. She's like, I got my guy, let's bounce.
Wow.
She's not, I
really want to see how this plays out, like post Bachelorette. Will they stay together? Will they not? Did she break it for no reason?
She actually already got engaged to somebody on Bachelor Winter Games a few years ago. And that show was only about a 2 to 3 week filming. So we'll see how this one turns out. And they did not make it, obviously. Well,
we definitely need to talk about some of how this affects faith. Do you know that there is sort of a Bachelor situation in the Bible? Immediately my thoughts went to Esther, the book of Esther. You can read through that. Millennials and Generation Z out there, read through the book of Esther and you can see how this goes down. I don't want to spoil it for you, but you need to jump in there and read about it. Also, Elizabeth, I want to maybe we don't want to talk about this too much, but I'm going to use this as a segue to throw it to Captain Jamie, our resident women's rights, women equality expert
feminist.
Here.
You can say it.
No, okay, feminist.
Not ashamed.
To Elizabeth and to Captain Jamie, here's my question. What do you think about this whole strip dodgeball thing? I know this is a faith podcast, but let's be real. It was on TV. Lots of people saw it.
Yeah. I think I have lots of thoughts. I think, okay.
Should we let Elizabeth set the scene real quick about what happened, and then we'll just let you go, Captain Jamie?
Okay. So last week we had a group date, which they were playing dodgeball, which was all fun and games. And then Claire was like, oh, let's like the losers strip, which was kind of a mixed response from the men. And one in particular was like, no, thank you.
That was Yosef, right? Yes.
Oh,
I
yes.
got
The
something
Queen
to say about
Vashti, the
Yosef.
Queen Vashti of the Bachelorette, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Captain Jamie. It's all you.
Yeah,
You've been waiting for this. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like it's a rough look. So, ladies, we've been fighting this whole objectification battle for centuries, still fighting it. And I think like we're not going to win by turning the tables and doing the same thing to men. And I see this a lot, not just in The Bachelorette, but like on the internet in general. And I guess, I guess in some ways it can be harmless conversation, but it happens a lot where, we want to buy those calendars that are like, firefighters with their shirts off or whatever. And I just think like the thing is, if women don't want to be treated as objects, then we need to not turn around and treat men like objects. Like Michelle Obama said, they go low, we go high. We got to be better. Right. So that's kind of my first thing. Like, let's chill with the objectification. Two, I just kind of want to say, like, nobody is going to look like that in 70 years. Not even 70 years. Like, we've been married, 18 years?
I don't like where this conversation is
I
going.
look zero things like I look like 18 years ago, thanks to children. But like it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it's important. I'm not gonna try to lie. Like, physical attraction is important. It's an important part of a relationship, but it can't be like the main thing, the basis. If that person is gorgeous but a tool, well, in 20 years they're gonna be not gorgeous anymore, but they'll still be a tool. Do you want to hang out with them? Like, you have to love them for what's on the inside more than you love them for what's on the outside, because the outside changes so fast.
Side note for those who are baby boomers and not millennials and Generation Z, you need to go talk to a millennial and a Generation Z and ask them what a tool is. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. Just ask somebody what a tool is. Also, I did talk to, thank you, Captain Jamie. I did talk to.
I ain't done.
Oh, I know. Okay. We can keep going and then I'll come back.
No, I have points, Matt. I got points. All right.
Okay, go. I know. I understand.
Too. So yes, think they're gorgeous. That's great. It's important. But like, what's on the inside is even more important. And we could have a whole biblical discussion about that. The man looks at the outside, but the Lord looks at the heart. Hands up. It'll preach. Number 3, I think, don't limit yourself. Don't compromise. You have worth and value. Don't settle. Like, I wonder sometimes when people put themselves in these situations, like, is it out of desperation? And I'm not judging them for going on there. You got to do what you got to do. But I just think that so often we settle ourselves, in just in life in general. We have these great dreams and these things that we want, but they don't happen on our timeline. And so, we do whatever to try to make it happen, and we miss out on great things, or compromise ourselves or limit ourselves. And I would just say, like, be careful of that. You're a king or a queen or whatever. Don't settle for somebody who's less than what you deserve. And then finally, Matt, here's my final point. My friend Yosef. All right. I'm not on Team Yosef. I think Yosef is shady, but I think like he was right to stand up to her and say, like, this isn't for me. Maybe the way he did it probably wasn't right, but to say, like, this isn't for me. This isn't the example I want to set for my child. This isn't the kind of role model I want to be. Like, good for him for standing up and saying that. Now, I also want to say, why I'm not on Team Yosef and why I think he's shady is because we're learning now that lots of his actions pre-Bachelorette don't match up to those words, which is a clear example of be sure your sins will find you out. So yes, stand up for what's right, stand up for what you believe, but you better make sure that your behind the scenes life is matching up with your in front of the camera life, because nothing stays hidden. So stand up for what you believe in, but don't stand up for what you believe in and then be shady in the background. And that ends my conversation on The Bachelorette.
Also, I have one more thing about it, actually, is I did talk to a family member and I said, hey, I'm going to be talking about The Bachelorette. This family member loves the show and catches it religiously. And I said, is there anything else that you would want people to know about it? And my family member said, yeah, alcohol doesn't make things better. So I do what, and again, Elizabeth, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a cocktail hour or cocktail party before each rose ceremony, correct?
Correct.
And so there's time for people to have quite a few cocktails, correct?
I think there is a limit in place after previous events, but yes, there's, yeah.
So previous events. So there have been.
Trouble in Paradise has happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just want to, again, I think I need to reaffirm the Salvation Army's stance on alcohol. To be a soldier, to be a member of the Salvation Army, to be an officer in the Salvation Army, we make a promise, a covenant to the Lord, to God, that says we will no longer drink alcohol. And so, I have my own opinion about alcohol. I don't think that it's been a great bonus for the world. Like I always try to think, if a person won the Nobel Prize and they said, okay, would you like to say a few words? The person would say, yeah, I want to thank alcohol for helping me win this Nobel Peace Prize. I think I've seen, of course, with the work that the Salvation Army does, I've seen how it's destroyed people, destroyed families more than helped. And I think you kind of see that played out in The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Alcohol is not going to be the solution to the problems, for sure. Yeah, anything else, Elizabeth, that you want to say about The Bachelor or The Bachelorette?
I mean, I think if you haven't watched, I think you should check it out. It's been an action-packed couple episodes.
Yeah, you better watch. Definitely entertainment.
You better watch quick.
Yeah, it's definitely entertaining. And I just want to say, like, we kind of say these things, and these are, kind of my opinions I'm saying as I watch them. But that's not to say, like, I'm not trying to come down and be like, condemning The Bachelor, Bachelorette. Like, I watched Love is Blind. I could have some many conversations about that show. I love Survivor. So it's not like, a downvote.
Survivor is the OG of reality shows, for sure.
Yeah. So it's definitely not like a downvote on trashy reality television. But these are just like, I don't know. As I just watch them, poor Matt, he has to listen to all my rants as we watch this stuff.
Yeah, and that's the point of this podcast. We're not trying to say, hey, if you have a person of faith, you shouldn't watch this stuff. No, not at all. We're just trying to say, what are the truths that we can see in this? What are the positive messages, the things that we can see in what the culture is revealing to us right now? Well, let's go on to some music. We've talked about TV for a little bit. Let's go to music. Number one song on the radio. Now, again, this is on the radio in a pandemic. It has been number one for 36 straight weeks, is Blinding Lights by The Weeknd.
Nice.
Have you heard these songs, Elizabeth and Captain Jamie? Have you heard this song?
I have heard it, yes.
I have as well.
Okay. It is not, I will say I have not, it's not like on my Apple Music playlist or whatever.
It totally is on mine. It totally is online. It has such a 1980s vibe. I mean, before we started the podcast, we were talking. Some of us on here never got to experience the 80s. Not saying who, but it definitely does have that 1980s vibe. Elizabeth, have you heard music from the 1980s?
You should know I have a pretty big record collection, so I love the 80s tunes.
Okay, all right. Do you hear the 80s vibe coming out in this song?
I've never thought of it that way, but I may have to go back and kind of listen with that ear.
Yeah, all right. Well, so it's actually a very clean song. I don't think that there's any cussing in it or anything like that. But I did look up, like, what does this song mean? Now, according to some people, some articles out there on the Googles say that that they wrote this song, that the guy from The Weeknd wrote this song after a breakup with a supermodel, missing you, things like that. But then I read some other articles that said that this song, the meaning behind this song, is something that's definitely we're not cool with. And that's The Weeknd says that this song literally means just, when drunk driving on your way to a hookup, which we definitely do not endorse here at the Battle Line at all. Definitely not cool with that.
No, do you know who the supermodel is? I don't think they broke up. Do you know who his significant other is?
When I Googled it, they told me the name, but Captain Jamie, I'm going to tell you the truth. I could name one supermodel probably
Mrs. Tom Brady, right?
Yeah, Mrs. Tom Brady, the Giselle Bundchen. Is
Yes,
that
I
how
was
you
going
say
to
her?
say, call her out her name.
Is her name pronounced Bunchen? The last name?
I have no idea how you
It's
pronounce
Giselle Brady, I guess. Actually, he should be Mr.
He
Giselle
is
Bundchen because she
Mr.
makes way
Giselle.
more money than he does.
Yes, that is correct. Mr. Giselle Bundchen. I think he should change his name to that.
So what's the supermodel? I don't know. You're going to tell me the name and I'm not going to know it.
Yeah, Bella Hadid.
Mm.
Oh, Elizabeth said, like she knows who that is. You know who that is?
Just because I just Googled it now. I had no clue.
So I know her sister, Gigi Hadid. I don't know her because of what she's actually famous for, but I know her because she's always on Beat Bobby Flay, which tells you a lot about my spare time.
All right. I lied. We are going to go back to TV just for a second. The top streaming movie of 2020 so far. Again, we're doing this at the end of October. The election hasn't happened yet. There's still 2 months for stuff to be streamed. So Tiger King.
Oh, surely we're going to watch some Hallmark Christmas movies, right? Those are going to show up on our
Definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely
please don't make me do that.
Definitely not. If I was gonna burn and throw some other podcasts out there. It's like, if you want Hallmark Christmas movie talks, go listen to whatever. But I don't want to throw anybody under the bus on the first episode.
Listen, there's a podcast review coming out in an upcoming episode of Peer Magazine where they actually review this podcast that is all about reviewing Hallmark Christmas movies. I want to go check it out. I cannot stand Hallmark Christmas movies, but I feel like I want to listen to this podcast because I feel like they might snark.
That sound that Elizabeth made makes Elizabeth. You're probably a fan of Hallmark Christmas movies, aren't you?
You know, you would think so, but no, I'm just really surprised Captain Jamie isn't a fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, for me, it's a little too much. It's a little too happy.
It is. One of my favorite things to do on Christmas vacation when I get to be with my family is sit on the couch with my dad because my mom and my sisters love Hallmark Christmas movies. So I just sit next to the couch with my dad and we make fun of it the whole time, which is probably really annoying for them, but it's super fun for me. So
that's fair for Elizabeth to think that you're a Hallmark Christmas movie because you're a mom and that's probably their target demographic.
My mom loves them.
Yeah. See, my mom as well. So that's right. All right. Well, I think I got way off here, but
we're talking about
the top streaming movie. It goes to Netflix, goes to The Haunting of Bly Manor. Now I'm going to tell you both straight up right now. I have not seen this movie because I am not a horror movie fan, mostly because I'm just terrified of those movies. So, are you a horror movie fan, Captain Jamie, Elizabeth?
So I am not now. I was as a teenager. Like I remember, Matt, I don't know if you remember this when we were dating. We had a marathon where we watched every single Halloween movie. I think we got them from Blockbuster Video.
Yeah, throwback.
Yes, we rented them, and I'm pretty sure they were still on VHS. Can you confirm?
Yes. No, yeah, they were. It wasn't a Blockbuster Video. It was like a Hastings out in West Texas or, one of those things. But you're right. We did have to get them on VHS. Wow, we are showing our age here.
So yes. So, we did that. I've seen, I watched The Exorcist as a teenager, which is a terrible idea at that impressionable age. All the Scream movies, like as a teen, and I guess even a young adult, I loved horror movies. But I don't know what happened to me. I think maybe becoming a mom maybe had something to do with it, but I just can't watch them anymore.
How about you, Elizabeth?
Super no, not happening.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, This is going to be a quick one.
I will say like psychological thrillers, like that's a different thing, I think. I can't watch like the ones where it's like gratuitous violence. I like a good suspenseful movie, but ones where it's just, people dying for no reason is just too much for me. I do have a pop quiz question for you.
Go for it.
Only one horror movie has ever won an Oscar. Only one in the history of Oscars. Do you know what it is?
I'm going to go The Shining. Is that right?
No. Do you know, Elizabeth?
Is it the Drew Barrymore one?
No, it is Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Only horror movie to ever win an Oscar. It was a creepy one.
Let me ask you, since we're on there, let's talk about it. what do you think is what's a Christian's response? Now, this is going to be different for everybody, I'm sure, but what's a Christian's response to horror movies? Because, we've kind of grown up, those who've grown up in the Christian faith in Sunday school, we've always kind of heard, oh, you don't want to watch those movies. You don't want to give the devil a foothold. What do you think?
And I mean, we like to Christian things up too. Like, I know, Matt, this is one of your favorite topics about how people have Halloween carnivals, but we don't want to associate with Halloween. So we call them other fun names. Like
Harvest.
Harvest
we don't want to scare
Festival.
people. Let's call it a Harvest Carnival or a Fall Festival.
Listen,
okay.
One of Captain Matt's favorite things is to, and I think like, when I say favorite things, it's like a love-hate thing where he likes to see what kind of crazy names people call their fall festivals. There are some really clever ones out there. Holy Ghost Weenie Roast will always be my favorite fall festival name.
My favorite was the Hallaboo-yah fall festival. Listen, I know this is probably this is the first episode. We're offending a lot of people, but listen, if you're going to have a Halloween carnival, ladies and gentlemen out there, listen to Uncle Matt. Call it a Halloween carnival. There's nothing wrong with just calling it a Halloween carnival. And another thing, sorry, again, we're getting off track here. It's okay for kids to dress up like witches and mummies and werewolves and vampires. It's perfectly okay. You can still go to heaven and be dressed up like a vampire. I don't know if they'll let you in at the time of, like when you get to Peter's gate, he'll be like, dude, why are you dressed like a vampire?
Change clothes, please.
Yeah. So, but it's okay, guys. It's okay. All right. Sorry, Captain Jamie, you were talking about horror movies. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, I think that ultimately, this is one of those things that's got to be between you and Jesus. Like, I don't think that we as Christians or we as the church should just put a blanket ban on horror movies. I definitely think like there are things in there that we should be cautious about. But I feel like, if you, and again, this is just my personal opinion on it. I think if you can handle watching in it and it doesn't like affect your mental health or those images aren't getting stuck in your brain, then go ahead. But if it's not like adding value to your life or it's weighing on you or, you can't sleep at night because those thoughts are in your head or you just are kind of haunted by those images, then throw it away. Like don't mess with your sanity for something that, ultimately doesn't matter. But I don't think that we as the church should be, putting a blanket ban on horror movies or whatever. That's one of those things that's between you and the Lord.
Yeah. When people say the verse, this is again, another thing that kind of gets my goat sometimes is when people quote the Bible verse, Ephesians 4, I think it's 27 that says, do not give the devil a foothold. When people say, oh, you don't want to watch that stuff, you don't want to give the devil a foothold. I would always say you should probably read the verse before that, which is talking about, your anger, don't sin, don't let the sun go down on while you're angry. So again, I don't mind using scripture for sure. We want to use scripture all the time, but let's just make sure we're getting it in context. One of these days I'll go on a rant about Philippians 4:13, but that's for another day.
That's a conversation for another time.
All right. But let's go to some video games. I didn't want to just hit one video game since it being 2020 because while there were some great video games that came out this year, the big news is that actually by the time that this releases, it will be pretty close to the releasing of PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5. I mean, again, not to mark our age, but we were there when the original PlayStation came out. So
yeah, I can remember playing the Atari. So
for sure, Pong on the Atari. Yep.
We've come a long way, kids.
I was telling Elizabeth before we started the show about the original Nintendo, the OG Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, man, with 5 buttons. That was it.
Yes.
Directional pad, start, select, A.
That was
B.
probably the last time I was good at Mario.
Man, it was great. Well, PlayStation 5 will be coming out just in time for Christmas. $500 is the price for the console, and we're not talking games with that. They might throw in a game, I don't know, but $500. Like pre-orders have already been happening. It's pretty hush hush. Like when new consoles come out now, it's like almost a new car. Like there's an unveiling or a new iPhone. Like somebody comes out and says, "Look how sleek the design is," and all that.
Listen, it's not surprising to me that $500. Do you know how much? Would you like to guess how much money in just the second quarter, just the 3 months of 2020? How much money consumers spent on video games?
So I'm going to guess that you said the second quarter, which is height pandemic time, correct?
Yes. So right in the
people
midst
started
of the
going
pandemic.
home and they were being bored and they needed to do something. 500. Oh, is this just United States or worldwide? We don't know.
Worldwide.
I'm going to say it was 500 million and then 500 million yen.
Okay, well, I don't know the conversion rate of yen. Elizabeth, would you like to guess?
I'm going to go with $1 billion.
It was actually $11.6 billion.
Just in video games.
Yeah, I'm sure some of like the pandemic played a large part in that. But $11.6 billion. That's so crazy to me.
Listen, the video games are not going away. They're growing. In fact, they're growing exponentially. Very good. I mean, like I think by 2022, we're expected. Esports is the competitive league that people compete now in video games, and I think that they're supposed to have 645 million members by 2022. So, in fact, Christianity Today, the magazine, just put out an article saying that video games are the new mission field. That people can get on video games, they play, and they can be led to Jesus. We can be encouraged by playing video games with people over the internet, which is very cool. It's something that's unheard of, for sure. In the Salvation Army, we used to have these meetings called open airs, where we would go out in the open air to like the mall or a park, and we would have an evangelistic meeting. We would pull out the drum and the band, and we would just tell people about Jesus out in the open air. Those have since faded just because of time and the culture. But I think that the video games, the online systems, the online rooms now through Twitch and Discord are the new open airs. They're the new mission fields for sure. And the Salvation Army is getting into this. For those of you listening, if you didn't know, we have a Salvation Army gaming website where Salvationists from around the country and the world meet up to play in a place that's safe. Because, video game, I don't know if you know this, but video games trash talk over the internet it's as bad as what you see on social media. I mean,
yeah, it can be real damaging.
Have a fifth grader over in, Waukegan saying terrible things about your mother while you're playing. So the Salvation Army gaming is a safe place where people can get together and play and just doing that. So if you want to check it out, it's out there. Check out the website, salvationarmygaming.com. Salvationarmygaming.com.
I think this is a really cool venue. They have tournaments and all that kind of stuff, but it's like a safe place where kids can come and play video games. Anybody from the nation can do it around the nation, but it's like a safe place where they come and they have monitors that are in the chats and all that kind of stuff. But it's just a place where, young people can play video games, meet other young people who, are from faith backgrounds or even those who aren't, but do it in a way that is protected and safe for them. And so I think it's a really cool thing. The whole point of open airs was to go where the people are. And right now they say like 75% of American households have at least one gamer. Games are where the people are. So I think it's really cool that the Salvation Army is kind of launching into this kind of ministry, going to where the people are, and using it as a discipleship tool or even as a way for, people to meet Jesus and for kids to be able to hang out in a safe space. As a parent, like for me, that's super valuable.
Yeah, and for the people that are listening who aren't millennials or Generation Z, the Salvation Army is not going to be creating our own video game for the Nintendo, okay? Like, we're not going to have little characters where you have Moses, trying to...
Oh, how cool would video game William and Catherine Booth be?
No, it wouldn't be cool, Captain Jamie. It wouldn't be cool.
You're right, it would be not cool at all.
God bless us. The Salvation Army, God bless us, we would have done it would be like a Captain Gabriel video game or something like that. So
now you've offended a quarter of the audience.
I know. For the first episode, Elizabeth, we're going to need a lot of editing. It's just people get nervous when they think video games, and that's okay. It's okay to be nervous, but you have to understand that is the culture now. I mean, again, it's $1 billion industry, 645 million. It has brought the world together. it really has made the world a smaller place, and it's not going away. Video games are not going away. If anything, they're going to be growing even more. Well, let's get away from video games and move on to the top book for young adults that came out in 2020. I have not read this book. I have seen the movies, but that's going to go. That award for the top book of 2020 for young adults goes to The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, the Hunger Games prequel.
Mm-hmm. I was so excited for this one.
I have not read this one. I've seen the movies. Elizabeth, you?
I have not seen the movies and I have not read the books.
Oh, Elizabeth, we got some homework. Like, listen, go on Netflix, buy the DVDs, get the DVDs sent to your house. Jumanji, Hunger Games.
You can watch them. I know you can watch them on YouTube TV right now because I just did recently.
I have so much homework. I have so many new quarantine hobbies after this podcast.
So
you go ahead, Captain Jamie. You've read it, so you lead us through this.
Yeah. So I have read all of the original books from the trilogy. And then, so I was excited about this one just because it sounds weird to say that you love a series that's essentially about killing kids. But
that's the line of the day. That's the line of the day. Welcome to the Battle Line podcast where we talk about killing kids.
Yes, I did enjoy the books. And then, the movies, I always feel like the movies don't do justice to the books, and maybe that's just me as a book lover. We could probably do a whole podcast on that. So I was excited when I saw that this was coming out, and then when it was released. I thought that it was good. I didn't think that it was as good as the original series, but it kept my attention. Essentially, if you've not read it, it's the story of like the background of President Snow, Coriolanus Snow, and how he becomes, this villain that we see in the Hunger Games, how he becomes the leader of Panem, and sets about these capital games where the kids have to come and fight each other to the death for survival and all that kind of stuff. I guess I'll try not to spoiler this book, but spoiler for the Hunger Games, they've been out for more than a decade, so some of those are probably slick. But yeah, I know, crazy, right? So the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is all about you see Coriolanus Snow from his teenage years, and then how he starts the journey of who we see him as in the Hunger Games. I don't know if they're going to make this a trilogy or not, like if we're going to see more of his journey, because he's not president. I think it ends before he becomes president. I would kind of hope that we do, just because I like the series and think it would be interesting to see where she goes with it. But anyway, there's a lot of great lessons in it. It's a good look at how we can easily justify wrong actions to bring about good outcomes. There are so many times in the book where Snow does something or takes advantage of a situation, and kind of for the right reasons, but they're like actions that are horribly wrong. And so we see that all throughout the book, and you see it in the Bible too, right? Like in 2 Samuel, when they're trying to bring the Ark of the Covenant back to Jerusalem, but they do it in the wrong way, and then a man dies. We can justify wrong actions all day, but at the end of the day, wrong is still wrong. And I think that's what, in his mind, it's kind of situational ethics, right? In his mind, like, yes, this is probably not the best thing for me to do, but I'm trying to bring about a good, and so it's okay. But I don't subscribe to that theory. Wrong, at the end of the day, wrong is wrong. Another thing I think we see in this book is that we can see like how taking one small step becomes that much easier for us to take another step. And this is how it snowballed. Da-da-da. We need a drum, a little.
That's a terrible pun
there. How it snowballs for President Snow. How he was easily justified one wrong after another. He had a sad life, like we see that at the beginning of the book. His life is sad. he had a rough beginning, rough things happened to him, but it doesn't justify his behavior or his choices. At the end of the day, murdering kids is still murdering kids, no matter how sad your life is. And then I think one of the most interesting conversations that came out of this book is exploring kind of this age-old question: are humans inherently good, or are they inherently evil? You see it in the book, like a game maker. President Snow is not the one who institutes the games. Like, they're already going on, but he kind of has a big hand in making them what we see them to be in the Hunger Games. And so the game maker that's here in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes says, what happened in the arena, that's mankind in its natural state. So what he's saying is, like, when we throw these people in there and they start murdering each other, like, that's what mankind does when you leave them to their own desire, to their own, I've lost my word here. When you kind of leave them to their own devices, that's what they do. You kill each other. People are inherently evil. But then you contrast that with one of the other main characters of the book, this girl named Lucy Gray. And she says, and she believes that there is natural goodness built into humanity, that people are beautiful and want to do good things. And so that's kind of a theme you see throughout the movie, is kind of like this wrestling between, are people inherently good or are they inherently bad?
Yeah, I think the Bible talks about that, Captain Jamie. Romans chapter 5, Romans chapter 3, I think of in Romans 5:12. Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man and death through sin, and in this way death came to all men because all sinned. Then I think, of course, you have to mention Romans 3:23 when you have this discussion about, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Definitely. And then when you were talking, I was thinking about Noah. And when God was grieved that he made mankind because of just the state. I think for more information on this, you could research the Doctrine of Original Sin. I think that's a great starting place for you to read a little more into.
Yeah. So, I mean, to wrap it all up, like, definitely it's worth a read. If you liked the original Hunger Games books, there's no reason to think you wouldn't like this one. So it's a good read. Not as good as the originals, but entertaining.
Well, all right. Social media challenges. Elizabeth, your official position of the Salvation Army is social media and media, right?
I do all the media. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I thought maybe you'd want to just kind of lead through, like, there's way too many in 2020. There were way too many challenges out there.
No,
but
Matt,
I thought,
not too many. It is fun.
Yes.
Let people live their life.
Well, what I'm saying is there's way too many for us to try to talk about all here.
Yeah, for
there's
sure.
no way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And by the time we're recording and this gets published and sent out there will be 35 other challenges that people are going to say, oh, why didn't they do the, whatever challenge? Well,
Elizabeth,
because
have you seen the knee? Is it take a knee challenge? The knee challenge, where you do that thing where you have to lean down on one knee and then you like cross your arms and breathe and then put your arms out and then put them down and try to stand up. Have you seen this? You should look it up.
I think I've seen this on TikTok. It's like
Yes.
saying like women can do it, but men can't.
So all the videos I've seen,
like the women fall over.
People are falling over. So a bad mom alert. I made my daughter try this. And then I was like, as she was doing it, I thought, well, this could end really badly. But she aced it. No problem. She did not fall over. So I made Matt try it. He did not fall over. So I don't know. I've not tried it yet because it doesn't matter. I'll fall over anyway. I'm just clumsy. So I'm like, but have cracked up on TikTok watching people try to do this challenge.
There are a couple challenges I've done. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I know I was going to say we were going to let you just go. We have tried, Captain Jamie and I have tried, mostly at my insistence. We tried the foot shake challenge, that ooh, na, 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 ooh, na, na. So we tried this and it was so bad.
Yeah, we failed miserably. We gave up.
Props to people. Now, Elizabeth, you said that you did this and you rocked it.
If I rocked it, you mean like smacked my boyfriend's ankle with my heels and I nailed it?
Nailed it. That's good. That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. Any other challenges that you've tried?
Not that I've tried, but I know you said that the cool folks are playing bingo on Instagram.
Now, yes. Yeah. Go ahead. You have to explain this because people who aren't cool might not know what you mean. They might think you're literally talking about like B7.
Well, when you say bingo, I'm like 8th grade Spanish class. That's the last time I can remember I played. But I took a look on the Instagram and people are doing really fun things like morning routine bingo, where you find out how relaxing your morning is.
Okay.
Fill out the squares.
Is there a free space?
There is a free space. Rise and shine.
So if you wake up,
but if you smile at yourself in the mirror, you get a point. If you work out or do water with lemon, what a great morning, right?
Nice.
Hard pass.
Yeah. But listening to a podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
Listen to this one. You get a bingo square.
Mm-hmm. They're saying nourishing breakfast, take a walk, create a to-do list. I gotta tell you, I maybe got one of these things with spring coffee. I apparently have horrible mornings. But alas, but that's okay. But another thing that they're doing is 30-day challenges on Instagram.
Okay.
Have you guys done any?
Is this like where you're supposed to read a book or?
Well,
okay. I do read more than one book every 30 days.
That's incredible.
No, that's not true. Sorry.
The ones that I saw were like the 30 days of water challenge, where you have a routine of 30 days where you drink water on a schedule, or the 30 days of outfits challenge.
With the water challenge, does the water increase as the 30 days?
I believe it's just you just do this consistent water routine for 30 days. Like maybe 10 times a day you drink water.
It's
like after waking up,
you.
30 minutes before breakfast, 1 hour after breakfast.
Listen, you drink some water and a lemon, you could knock out 30-day challenge and a bingo card.
Captain Matt, you're coming in hot. That's exactly the correct answer.
I mean, I've done some of them. I haven't done one of the Instagram ones yet, but there have been times in my life where I've done drink only water for 30 days or
hard pass.
I did a couple years ago. I did Jillian Michaels. Oh gosh, what was the name of that? It was one of those DVDs where it's like, you just have to follow it for 30-day boot camp or something like that. And so I did that. So I have done some of these, but now I'm gonna have to look them up on Instagram because I am I like to set goals, and then usually not follow through on all of them. But I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna go look at it.
The closest thing I've done is the Christmas chocolate eating calendar for 30 days or 25 days.
See, I could do that. I could rock that one.
Yeah, I'm really good at that.
All right. Well, we have tried to hit as much as we could, as quickly as we could. I mean, try to sum up 2020 in a podcast is ridiculous and impossible, as crazy as this year has been. But we thank you for bearing with us as we've talked through pop culture and the truths and the faith that we've seen in those things. Before we close out any Battle Line podcast, we're going to end it with a question, sort of a standard question throughout. I'm going to let Captain Jamie ask, and then we're going to go around the horn, let everybody give a quick answer here.
Yeah, so I'm just saying in closing, every episode of this podcast will focus on a different theme. It won't always be pop culture highlights like we've done today. So to make sure you tune in for the next one and see what we're up to then. But each week we're going to finish with this question: what's giving you joy? There's so much negativity in the world right now. Just with the pandemic and with the election, with all kinds of things, it's easy to get kind of weighed down and get stuck in the negativity. So instead, we're going to try to focus on some happy. So what is giving you joy? That's the question. Matt, you want to go first?
Okay. I guess I'll go first. So I think what's giving me joy is at the time of this recording, it is not yet election day. The time that this podcast, I think, will come out, it will be after election day. So if you're listening to this right now, hopefully we already have somebody as president of the United States, and we're not recounting a million times.
I think that's optimistic, but go ahead.
I think something that's exciting to me, something that's giving joy right now, is just to see all of the people who are involved in the voting process this year. I know turnout is always something that's considerably low. In presidential years, it's often a little bit higher, but it seems like all of the emphasis on getting out and voting are really starting to pay off. And so to see lines, I mean, it's not, as again, at the time of this recording, it's not yet election day, but to drive by coming home from work and seeing lines stretching 2 blocks just to go vote already it does my heart good to see that there are people that people care enough to stand in a 2 or 3 hour line where it's fall, it's late fall, and the wind's blowing and it's chilly. I just think that's a great thing. So that's mine. What's given me joy, what's got me excited is just the democracy in action and seeing people willing to let their voices be heard. I appreciate that.
All right, Elizabeth, what's bringing you joy right now?
I was going to say fruit snacks, but that seems really small.
See, maybe I should go last. When we edit,
Listen,
we'll put in.
I should have said this at the beginning. It can be big things. Well, I mean, things like you can say, Jesus is giving me joy right now. Or you can say like cheese, which quite often gives me joy. Okay.
So fun.
Or cheeses of Nazareth.
So it can be serious. It can be not serious. It can be big. It can be little. It's your joy.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, that I made you feel bad for fruit snacks.
I mean, I stand by it. Fruit snacks make me so happy.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, as of recently, I've been eating the Mott's fruit snacks and
adult fruit snacks.
Yeah,
well
they're mature. And I like the red ones. So I guess that would be probably a strawberry. But I'm becoming increasingly interested in the yellow ones, which I'm not quite sure what it is.
If you said that you were really into Gushers, we were going to have a discussion.
Okay, well, it's funny you say that because that was the other one that was on sale at CVS. And I said, no, I can't.
So
Gushers are fine. I'm not coming to for people who are pro Gusher out there.
I've tried to be an adult about it. Yeah.
I think it's one of those things like, when you're a kid, they were amazing, but now that you're an adult, it's terrible. I felt the same thing with ramen the other day. Like when I was a kid, I loved ramen. I tried to eat ramen for lunch the other day and I was like, this is the worst. I feel like Gushers would fall in that category. Maybe not. Maybe they're still amazing. Who knows?
Let's watch Sonic the Hedgehog and eat some Gushers. What a day.
Yeah, for sure. That's so amazing. 2020, man. Sonic the Hedgehog and Gushers.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to answer my own question. What is giving you joy? I actually just changed the answer to my question. I had something else written down, but today at the day of this recording, the 4th season of Somebody Feed Phil has released on Netflix, and I watched part of an episode at lunch right before we filmed this, and it brought a smile to my face. I don't know what it is about that show. I love it to see where Phil Rosenthal is going and what he's eating. And he has the best facial expressions, and he does that little dance and waves his arm in the air, pumps his arm in the air when he tastes something really good, and it brings me joy. But it also, I want to get a job on his show. I want to be Phil. Can I be Phil?
You know what Phil's never eaten? Gushers. Elizabeth, are you a Somebody Feed Phil fan?
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, you totally again another one.
Okay, so this is another throwback show. Do you know Everybody Loves Raymond?
I've heard of it.
So Phil Rosenthal was like, he's a producer, creator. He was the creator of that show.
Okay,
he was the Elizabeth of Everybody Loves
Raymond.
Oh my gosh!
And so he travels around these cities and he basically eats food. So he goes to like street food. He goes to fine dining restaurants. He eats like what's the famous dish of that country. Usually sees some big landmark or something, and then usually he eats in the home of somebody who lives in that country. And it's just so like pure and good, and then it makes me hungry and it makes me want to travel. And he has the best facial expressions. So yes, check it out. Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. I think it originally started as a PBS show, What's Phil Eating or something like that. And then it switched over to Netflix. So it's good.
All right. Captain Jamie, Elizabeth, anything else before we land the plane?
Nope. I'm just, when we wrap up, I'm going to go finish watching my episode of Somebody Feed Phil.
And I'm going to go get fruit snacks.
I'd say a pretty successful first episode. Hopefully we still have listeners after the conclusion of this. That's going to end this episode of the Battle Line Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the Battle Line Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to follow Peer Magazine, the magazine for Generation Z. Zers out there on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Captain Jamie is the editor. Anything else you want to say, Captain Jamie, about Peer Magazine?
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting ready to celebrate our second birthday in January, which is exciting. And so the whole point of Peer is that by addressing topics related to faith and community and culture, which is kind of, where this podcast also spun out from, the mission really of Peer is to ignite faith conversations that will deepen, biblical perspective and people's faith and their, kind of pursuit of living a holy life. And really at Peer, we aim to hit hard topics. It's not just surfacey faith kind of stuff, but we really want to know, like we understand that this is where Gen Z lives, that they face hard situations. And so, things like, why does God allow us to suffer, addiction, mental health issues, the battle with pornography, the role of Christians in politics, all of this and so much more in each print edition and then on social media. So yes, check us out on social media. We're at peer.magazine, or you can go to our website, peermag.org, and you can subscribe to the print edition. It'll come right to your house. The first year is free. So hit us up either on our website or social media just to learn a little bit more about these faith conversations.
Until next time, this has been the Battle Line Podcast.
Goodbye, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed by the Battle Line Podcast are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Salvation Army National Headquarters.